Yes, people, what's going on? Jake here. As you know, been in sales over 10 years now, closed over £5 million in sales for numerous different companies along my journey. But I'm here to tell you that it wasn't down to my pitch, the product, my boyishly good looks. There was one thing that I would genuinely put it down to, and it was my tonality. Now, in this video, I want to break down exactly how utilizing tonality can help you make a great deal more sales. Whether you are a complete beginner, whether you are in the early stages of your sales career, or whether you're an expert and just want to raise that commission a little bit higher, if you implement these methods, you will be earning more commission in sales without shadow of a doubt. Now, you can practice this on every walk of life. It's not just in sales when you are trying to get a prospect from A to B. You can use this in conversation with your partner, your friends, people behind a counter. Tonality is essential in every conversation. It is the crux of every conversation. Now, throwing it back to sales quickly, you can have the best sales script in the world. But if your tonality doesn't match your message, it's going to go straight over your prospect's head and they will never buy from you. Your tone is what builds trust, conveys the message, and ultimately persuades your prospect to take action with you today. Now look, I was guilty of it way back at the start of my sales career, where I was so focused on saying the right thing that I still wasn't conveying my message across properly and effectively. Once I understood that and my mentor was reviewing my calls with me, I just sounded so stiff. We flipped that around and now I really utilize tonality to my advantage. Everything changed for me. There is a very common saying in sales. It's 20% what you say, but 80% how you say it. How many of you have sent a WhatsApp or an email and it has been completely blown out of proportion? The recipient thinks you're just being aggy because you can't tell tonality in a message, in a text. And that is why it is so important to raise your tone if needs be, or lower your tone just to reduce all resistance in the conversation that your prospect might have, just so you can convey your message effectively. Now, on that note, your tone should adapt to the prospect's emotional state. If they come across anxious or uncertain to you, you really want to be delivering a calm tone, a reassuring tone. That's what they need in that moment in time. If they seem excited, they're speaking quickly, you probably want to match their high energy and raise your tone. When I started tuning into my prospects' feelings and emotions in the conversation and adjusting my tone accordingly, I noticed my prospects were far more engaged and connected with me and what I was saying. Raising and lowering your tone, I would genuinely say, is most effective when you're at the close, after you've dropped the investment of your product or service. So when your prospect is erratic and they're throwing out objections to left, right and center, the price is too high, it's not the right time for me, I've got to speak to my partner, they're in fight or flight mode. It is your responsibility as the sales professional, remembering that you're there to help them, to just lower the tone. And you can ask them, listen, I've noticed a real shift in tone in the last couple of minutes. You can be honest with me. What's going on here? Is it fear? You can say that. You can call it out with the tone of your prospect as well. You can direct the conversation, control the tempo of the conversation just by lowering your tone. And if you are carrying a mountain of empathy with what you are saying, if the prospect feels that, they will understand that you are actually there to help them, and it will hugely increase their chances and the likelihood of them wanting to work with you. Now, on average, I would say most salespeople speak way too fast, trying to cram as much information in the shortest space of time as possible. And you know what? Genuinely, I did a reel on this on Instagram. I think a large part of this is like the old school style of selling, like Jordan Belfort in Wolf of Wall Street, that old school extrovert style of sales. And the problem is, no one likes being sold to. And if they recognize that high energy, that fast speaking, they would associate that with the salesperson. Remember, no one likes being sold to. As soon as they feel that they are being sold to and it is that high energy, hi, how are you today? How can I help you? They were just going to retract. The sales resistance is going to go sky high and you're going to really struggle to break down those walls. Slowing down and pausing between key points does two things. It allows your prospect to process what you're saying and it creates anticipation. Some of my biggest deals I've closed by using that technique of just pausing and letting the prospect absorb exactly what it is I have to say and exactly what I was offering. During your pitch and during your discovery phase, try to not use filler words like, okay, all right. When you ask your prospect a question, how many hours in a week are you currently working? And they tell you 40 hours. Just pause on that for a minute. Let the silence build the tension. That message will deliver to your prospects that something isn't right. That's not normal. If you just continue with the conversation like, okay, all along the same monotone voice, you can use pauses in your conversation with your prospect just to build that tension, and it just puts a bit more psychological pressure on the prospect's mind. Now, it is essential to recognize that different stages of the sales process require different tones. During the discovery phase, right at the start of the call, I would use a more curious tone. I want to really understand what's brought the prospect here, what's triggered in the prospect's mind to make them want to actually make a change. I ultimately want them to open up and share their challenges with me. That's going to enable me to identify the pain or what it is that they're struggling with and really go deep to find the root cause of that problem. During the presentation phase, or as it's known, the pitch, I would use a more upbeat, enthusiastic tone to demonstrate authority. I'm in charge of that conversation and I am an expert in my trade. That is how you have to come across during the pitch. Remember, you're talking about your product or service here. Be proud of it, believe in it, and install that confidence into your prospect in that moment in time. When I deliver the investment, I would deliver it with an assertive tone. I'm confident in the product. I'm confident in our service is genuinely what the prospect needs to get them from A to B. Their current situation where they're evidently not happy, not satisfied, and then their goals that we would outline in the discovery phase of the call. I'm confident that this offer is exactly what you need, Mr. Prospect, to get to your desired outcome and take you and your family to the place that you really want to be. I'm confident at this point. You have to be assertive. You can't question or wince when you deliver that price because it's just going to install fear in your prospect's mind. They are listening to your tonality at this point. They need to install confidence in themselves, hearing the words that you're saying and how you're saying them. Now, knowing exactly when to switch up the tones here, bearing in mind that when the prospect, if they have objections, you handle that with an empathetic manner. That will be the key to you earning a lot more commission in sales. Remember, empathy diffuses tension, and that is what you would need to do when your prospect is in fight or flight mode. I see so many closers being combative when maybe people have a price objection. Can't afford to do this. Can't afford not to do this. It's like, what? They are literally, their guard is going to go right up. They will not trust you, and no one will buy anything from you if they don't trust you. If you have continued to build that rapport through your cadence, through your tonality, and maybe behaving in a bit of a nonchalant manner where you are just there to help. You're not just a shark seeing them as a pound sign trying to get them to buy with you. If they really feel that, they'll trust you. No one will buy anything from you if they don't trust you. Trust is everything with sales. By using tonality correctly, I could steer a prospect in that moment back towards the solution without sounding argumentative or combative. If you are serious about leveling up your sales game and earning a heck of a lot more commission, subscribe to this channel where I'll be giving you a load more sales tips and tricks that I've learned over my decade plus of sales and the mentorship that I have taken from the likes of Jeremy Miner, Cole Gordon, Sean Carter, etc., etc. All big names in the sales game. All of them have a completely different style of selling. And I would put a lot of the lessons that I have learned from tonality specifically down to one of my mentors, Jeremy Miner, one of the biggest names in sales, an absolute master of tonality. If you felt like you would benefit from more support, I have built one of the fastest growing sales community in the online space, the founder of the Corporate to Closer School community, where I do live Q&As. There is a load of free training in there. I've put together what I believe is some of the best sales training in the market, and I've included it in the school community for free. Go over and check it out, and I look forward to seeing you there. Peace.